Hi, I'm Esther. Most of you have either met with me or with Sarah Cornett when you were finalizing your internships. And we are here to talk a little bit about how you can make the most of this experience. And I'm going to share my screen with you to get us started. I have framed this in, here we go. I have framed this sort of in do's and don'ts and what ifs, and then, a few other tips, that sort of thing. But as you are getting ready to do this internship, it's probably different than anything you've done before. You've participated in labor, and that might be the closest thing to an internship, but it's not labor and it's not school, it's not informal like that might be with when you're, working with faculty or your fellow students, that sort of thing. It's not school, although this is a class, and it is not just, the types of things you would do with your friends. So it is different. And I would like you to think of the internship really as sort of a very long interview. You will be evaluated at the end. It is something where the supervisor will be noting, they'll just be noticing if you're professional and if you are able to listen and follow instructions and things that seem very simple, but they do notice all of those things, and it sort of makes the impression of you and of Berea College for that matter, because you are representing not only yourself, but also the college and potential interns in the future. So keep that in mind and do your best. We want you to do your best and enjoy it as well. So let's get going here. One thing I think almost everyone would say when you start thinking, what are your goals? Everyone will have individual goals, and you set those on your planning form, your proposal form. But also, these are ones that almost everybody would identify. You want to make a good impression while you're there. There could be a job offer that comes out of this, and certainly it would be a reference, professional reference for when you do apply for other jobs or graduate school. So you want to make a good impression, and you want to maximize your learning. You really want to learn as much as you can from this experience, as well as contribute to the organization with your skills and what you bring to the experience. And you do want to be prepared that when you're getting ready, make sure that you have confirmed everything with your supervisor, especially true if you were working with a recruiter, but it's important because it's so easy to make a small mistake, with time or location or something like that. So just confirm everything with the supervisor, or things may have changed since you talked with them and they thought they told you, but they didn't, that sort of thing. So make sure you know where you are going, the physical address if it's in person, or the link and the platform, for if it's virtual. And in person, you're going to need to know about transportation. If you're taking public transportation, definitely do a dry run, the day before or something, to make sure what stops, the bus or the trains will be making, and where you need to get off and what's most advantageous for you. And then, or if you're parking, where that can be. It'd be great if it's the kind of place you just pull up in the parking lot and you're there, but many places are not that way, so you do want to check all of this out before you go. And then, of course, the time and where. Even though you may know the address in the building, you go inside and maybe there are multiple, offices and floors, and you're not sure which one, so make sure that you do know and confirm the time. Also, when you are preparing, I hope you would have already been pretty familiar with the organization just from your research as you were applying, but get on the website again, this time to look more at who are the people. You look, as when you're looking at staff, your manager or the person who's, made you the offer, your supervisor, and then who's their boss. Can you tell, who is the CEO if it's a larger company, or who who are the different experts or researchers, the principal investigator, if you're doing research, who is that? And so you get to know them, look at their photos. They have photos most of the time with the bios, and it would be great if you ran into them. You want to know who they are. If you're in an elevator in a hallway, do introduce yourself. Say, hey, I'm Esther. I'm an intern from Berea, and I really appreciate the chance to work here for the summer. I hope to learn a lot. That's all you need to say. But then they will remember that, and they might engage you in conversation, but so just be aware of that. And also know the company's or the organization's expectations for your attire. This really just varies so widely, very corporate settings with completely, very professional attire, all the way to, it needs to match the type of work you're doing. If you are working on a farm or in the forest or something like that, you need to wear what's appropriate. But then there's all those companies in between that could have, casual, but business casual. And I think you always want to, if you're going to make a mistake, err on this, the conservative side. If you're a little too dressy, that's okay. You can change that the next day. But just find out. They don't mind at all if you ask. I can assure you, it should not be what we've all worn for the last year, sweatpants and t-shirts as we sit in front of our Zoom screens. So do find that out, and then also know what you need to bring on the first day. If you are in person, especially, they may want to have copies of your ID or your driver's license. There may be other things that they want you to bring, an insurance card. You want to have that with you anyway, but you might need to have it on the first day. They might want to make copies of that. So ask, if you haven't done that, would you like me to bring on the first day? Is there anything you're going to be asking for? And then on that first day, be prepared to introduce yourself. We talk about your elevator speech, those kinds of things, where what is it you include when you're just doing a brief introduction. And sometimes that is just your name and that you're a Berea College student majoring in whatever it is, peace and social justice, and then you give them a little bit more if they're interested. You don't give them the whole life story right at the beginning. You want to wait, but you do want to have a few things that you would include in that introduction. And it's good to sort of practice that and know what you would say, especially if it doesn't come easy for you. We acknowledge it's so much easier for some people to just talk about themselves, and introduce themselves. And it's not as easy for other people. And where you are on that spectrum, but you can, say it out loud a few times in practice. There will be some type of orientation wherever you're going. You should expect that. And if they don't, you might want to ask for it, especially if it's larger. If it's a smaller organization, it might just be a meeting, with your supervisor, but they should talk to you about their plan for the internship. And they'll want to get to know you a little bit about, what you're interested in learning and what you're doing. I would make sure on that first day you have your planning form with you and the offer that they sent, because we are sending them copies of your planning form and the agreement that you signed. And so they might reference those things, or you might have questions about those. So have those with you. And that would be true whether you're virtual or, in person. Other things can vary pretty widely, but take this opportunity to ask questions if you need to, but listen very carefully as they're talking about the organization, what they have in mind for you to do. And also they might discuss expectations. We expect this or that from you, and these are policies that you must adhere to, so if there might be some formal training or some formal sessions that they require you to do online or in person. So listen very carefully, take lots of notes. You do need to take a notepad and a pen with you. When you go into a supervisor's office, never go without anything to write on, because They might just start telling you, I need this, I need this, I need that. And if you stand there trying to remember it, or go out of the office and think, I don't know, I didn't get all that, then you've made a bad impression already. So don't do that. It can be something small that's in a pocket, or, it doesn't have to be a giant one, but, a big notepad's fine too, but do take something. They will be pleased that you do, so that you can take those notes. You never want them to give you 3 things to do, and then you turn around and go, now, what was the second thing? Or what was the first thing would be worse. But anyway, this is really important. And you may have some downtime. So keep in mind, what would you do if you didn't have anything to do immediately? And if you have downtime, usually that is around the beginning, especially when they're getting projects prepared and assignments for you to do. There might be a little bit. So take advantage of this time. You want to read everything you can on the website, or if there's policies or manuals or information, that they have for customers or clients or visitors, patients, whatever it is. Take that time, take advantage of those opportunities. And you may also ask, if I have downtime, unexpected downtime, these are some things I thought I would do. Is there anything you would prefer that I do when there's some downtime? What do you think would be most helpful to me when I have a few minutes? So be mindful of this and be ready to ask those kinds of questions. You do want to make sure you meet people, and if you're in person, and even virtually, you have a chance to meet people, but do take advantage of that as well, and including other interns from other schools. You get to know them, and these people will become your latest network. Your network has a real spider web of people that you've met in different circumstances. And this will be a new one. This will be your internship network, your professional network that you are starting to develop. And then be able to tell the Berea story when it's appropriate to do that. Some places will not know anything about Berea. And maybe the supervisor, maybe you're the first person that they've ever hired, or the first contact they've ever had from Berea. And so if that's the case, you do want to be able to tell them a little bit about the Berea story, not just that no one pays tuition. I think if some people know about Berea, they often think, oh, it's that craft school, and it's like, well, no, actually, it's not a craft school. Although, we have some great crafts, but you would want to, be very polite and tell them a little bit about it, how, its history. And if you're not sure of that, get on our website. But I think most of you, know that by now. Then also communicating, find out how your supervisor wants to communicate with you, what method they want to use, how often they want to, even if there's going to be set meetings, or is it just when you make progress, like when you finish this, then we'll meet, something like that. But you want to confirm this, and you want to be respectful of their time, and think about what really works for you too, if possible. If they might be in the office next to you or 2 doors down, but they might still prefer that you email them as opposed to showing up in their doorway. Or if you're doing it virtually, you absolutely will have to schedule times, or they might utilize Teams or Slack or something like that, where it's very immediate feedback. But you do need to confirm these things, find out how they want to communicate. Don't just leave that open-ended, leave you wondering what would be best. You can do so much better if you have an idea of what they want. And who do you ask questions to? If they say, oh, we're going to meet on Mondays and Wednesdays at this time, what happens when a question comes up on Tuesday? You need to know, who do I ask, especially if it's something that keeps you from being able to move forward with the work that you're doing. So find out who that person is, if it's not the supervisor, or if it is, what to do in those cases. And then make sure that you follow through the way they specify. If they say, email me, don't walk in to the office, don't knock on the door. Or, they might, you email first, they might say, come on down, we'll show you what you need or something like that. Sometimes it's not that formal, especially if it's a very small organization. Nonetheless, you will want to ask these questions, even so, just so that you can be respectful of the work that they're doing and the time that they have to spend with you, and be very grateful for it. And when they do set up times for you to meet, make sure that you are on time, that you are prepared, that you have something to take notes on, and you may already have notes of questions that have come up that you want to ask them, or ideas that you've had, or progress you've made on the, what they've asked you to do. So do follow through the way they want you to communicate. And then just, tips, be friendly. Everybody prefers the person to be around the person that smiles and that is professional and friendly. If there's opportunities, you're in a meeting and they're saying, let's see, we need somebody to do this or that, be the first one to volunteer. They will appreciate that very much. But always, you might even say, well, I would be happy to do that if you think it's something that's appropriate for me, because you might think, oh, I can do that. And they might think that would be, there's some pieces to this that you're unaware of that wouldn't really be something that you could do. As an intern, maybe you don't have access to whatever program or something like that. So just say, I'd be happy to do that for you. Is it, you feel that would be appropriate? And then just see what they say. And then you want to network very intentionally, especially if you are doing this virtually. You have to arrange times to talk to people. Do go to lunch, if you're in person and you have an opportunity, or, ask someone, would you mind? I'd love to have coffee with you at some point and learn a little bit about what you do, especially if you're working with someone in different function areas. These are similar to informational interviews, although not quite as formal, but just, create opportunities, get to know people personally, but also as professionals. And then avoid workplace politics. There's always some politics, people that, there just is, this, and don't take sides. Do not, just try to remain neutral and don't talk about other people. And you might actually beware a little bit of the person that might come to you and start talking about someone else. So that person is usually someone to beware of. So don't get involved in that. And absolutely do not, get into romantic involvement with coworkers, or never with supervisors. Let me just say, even if you should run into a supervisor who's quite willing and interested, not on your life. Do not do this. It can really, well, there's just so many ways that can go wrong. You just do not do that. This is wise advice. So please heed it. Also, we're going to get into a few don'ts here. When you're, make sure that when you're working, you don't have your cell phone out. If it's something, where like we have to have it for, a security push, with Duo, send me a push, on your phone. Then, just keep it on silent, keep it out of view in a desk drawer, in a pocket or purse or something like that. Because if it's out on your desk, they might assume that you are, checking texts and doing social media or things like that, that you're not really working. And this is just an impression you don't want to make. Don't have it out. Just put it away, and because you can always get it out when you need to. And don't go there. Don't text. Don't be texting while you're working. Don't be checking out, Instagram or Twitter or anything like that while you're supposed to be working. And if you have downtime, that is absolutely, do not use your phone. If you've got downtime, use your phone, or you use that time to be learning more about the organization and how you can contribute and what they do, that sort of thing. Also, the next one, you notice that one is in red and very bold. That's because I do want to emphasize this. Don't post things on social media about your internship without permission. And you can use good judgment, although I've been shocked in the past when students have done things that did not use good judgment because, you know, I think social media sometimes is just something that is so casual for you that it's not a big deal to you, and it's a very big deal to your employer. So make sure you're not posting anything about that. If part of your job is to make social media posts, and because there are people that will be your job, you're an intern and that is your job, then you make sure you are only using their accounts and that they are approving the things that you put out there. It's your job. But if you're just commenting, after work and you're just shocked about some of the things that happened that day or something like that, you don't put that on social media, even if it's, you're not using your name, if it's an alias, you even then you don't do it. And you do not ever say anything about other coworkers or anything about patients or customers or clients. All of that, of course, would violate confidentiality policies. And I'm so serious about this. I can't tell you. And this, of course, has occurred in the past. And with the interns where this did occur, it was very serious. Lost their positions. There were other serious repercussions here at Berea as well for those students. So just know this and be smart. I know that most of you are, but there's a few people, that say, well, it wasn't under my name. I didn't think they would know. And they did very clearly. So don't do this. And then also don't ask to leave your internship early. You have agreed to be there from this start date to this end date. And that is like a professional contract. It's on your planning form. Even if they're super nice and you don't think they'll mind and you're really kind of done, you'd like to have a week off, like to leave a week early, don't ask that. It does create a bad impression of you and also of the college. They might think twice. Well, I don't know if I want to have that intern from Berea, the last one, they didn't stay the full time, that kind of thing. Don't do this. And even if you think, oh no, they really don't mind, they might not, but sometimes they just say they don't and they do. So don't do it. Just don't do it. And you're working this length of time because you do have to have a minimum of 300 hours to be eligible for funding. And, if you got 298, I might be okay with that. But if you're coming back in with 285, 300 is the minimum. Most people, we got kind of a short summer, but most people are working more than 300. Most people are working around 320 all the way up to 400. So 300 is the minimum that you must have to be eligible for funding and also for credit. Different departments are a little different on that. Some require more than 300. Okay, some do's. Let's get to the do's. Those are don'ts. Do identify and build relationships with the people that can help you during the internship. And you will, if you're in person, these might be people that you're in meetings with. Virtually, you would be, there would be meetings as well. But if you're virtual, it won't, you can't really go to lunch, but you can suggest, would you mind to having a Zoom chat with me over coffee one day, perhaps? Like I said before, I'm interested in the work that you do. I'm interested in learning a little bit more about that. Or, if it's another young professional who's just been at the company for a couple of years, they might have some really great insights for you. But, it's part of just relationships. Maybe they've, commented that they love, the British baking show, whatever it is, if there's some commonality that you pick up on, this is an opportunity, to, get to know them a little bit and expand your network. Do ask in advance if there's a reason that you do have to miss a day or that you're going to be delayed, whatever that might be. whatever the reason for that, if you can do that in advance, let them know as much in advance as is reasonable. Okay, get permission. And some more do's. I would suggest that you schedule some informational interviews with management while you're there. Most of the time, they're very happy to do that. We have some informational interview questions. I believe they're on our website, and if they are they're on the career development website, I believe. If you have trouble finding those, we can help you, or we can send you a list of those. But it's the kind of thing. What was your career path? What degree did you have when you started this, and what was most helpful to you? What do you like most about what you do? Or what is the thing about this job that you love? What is the thing that you really don't love? These are very helpful for things to learn, and everybody will have different experiences and different information and advice to give. And these shouldn't be long. I would say maybe 15 minutes, maybe ask for 15 minutes, and then be respectful of their time, because when you ask for these, the first thing they're going to be thinking is, I don't have enough time to do this. And so you want to start that out by saying, I know you're very busy. I will be respectful of your time, but I would love to have 15 minutes to talk with you about your career, something like that. And then also do consider asking for a letter of recommendation before you leave. It's when you're out of sight, you're out of mind sometimes, and that is important to have. And sometimes, the supervisor will have left the company later. And if you are applying for a job in the next year or two, you would need this information. So also be sure to leave thank you notes if you're in person, or, on your last day of work, for your supervisor and for anyone else that you found, that was very helpful to you. Or send emails if you're virtual, and that just express your appreciation for the opportunity and what you learned. And do stay in touch, 3 or 4 months from now, maybe when you're doing your presentation in the fall, you might just shoot a quick email and say, I did my presentation about my internship today, and I was reflecting on this and what a wonderful experience it was, or how much I learned, or how much you helped me, whatever it would be. Just an opportunity to stay in touch. Or, I saw this article about the organization, and I was excited to hear this news, or, whatever it is. Stay in touch with these people, maintain the network and the relationships that you've built. And if you are in person in an area where you have not been, be a tourist, see the area. Almost every place has, free concerts in the park, or different things like that. If it's a big city, there might be some museums, or, some unusual museums. If it's a small little town, you might find something, that's very unique. So do be a tourist and learn a little bit about the area and see it. Do document your work. Keep track of the things that you're doing. And if you're creating pieces or reports or things for this organization, keep track of these things, and you will use them then. Just make notes of the things you did, because you think you'll remember, but later, this, even when doing a resume, you start thinking, oh, when was that? And so what was it you worked on, and who was it with? Was it a project for? It was for your supervisor, or was it for the entire company, or for something that was used, by the CEO or whatever? Keep track of all of that. And then before you leave, create a list of tangible achievements, results that you achieved while you were there on the internship. You can use this when you're communicating with your supervisor. I've done this and this and this. What else would you like me to work on? Or I'm very interested in this. Is there a chance that I could assist with that project, or something like that? And then you'll also use it as a basis for updating your own resume and Handshake and LinkedIn profiles, that sort of thing. Do ask for feedback. An internship is really about learning, and we all have blind spots, or we all just wonder how we're perceived by others and the work that we do. And so ask for feedback. Let them know you want to learn and that you would genuinely appreciate it. If that's true, only if it's true. And I hope that it is true for you. And when they give it to you, if it's, you need to accept it graciously, no matter what it is they say, even if it's something you disagree with, accept it graciously and then reflect on it. This is not, don't take it personally if it's something that is an area that you can improve on. This is how you grow. You learn and think, oh, okay, I sort of had a feeling that might be the case, or, whatever. You don't have to respond to them right then when you give it, other than when I say accept it graciously. For some reason, I can't say that. When you do, you want to thank them. So thank you very much. I'm going to reflect on that. I wasn't aware of this. If it is something that's negative, or if you weren't aware of it, or if you were, say, I am aware that I tend to do this, and I want to work on that. I do want to learn more. I want to be able to present better, or whatever it is that they're talking about. And what else? Okay, here's some more do's. If you're a remote intern, think about where you're going to work. It's so important to have a space that can minimize distractions so that you can really concentrate on what you're doing. Ideally, if you can have a dedicated space for that, that's ideal. And the ergonomics here that I mentioned is, a dining room chair is comfortable for about an hour and a half. And beyond that, you can be pretty uncomfortable if you don't have a good chair, or, even if you're sitting on the sofa, you want to be comfortable. If it's a virtual, experience, you want to make sure that you're not, because you're going to be sitting there a lot, that you're not hurting yourself, injuring yourself in some way. And then do create some structure for yourself. Even if they've given you flexibility, get ready in the morning like you're going to work, and go to work. Turn off your distractions. Set ground rules with any people you share your home with. If it's family members or roommates, let them know, I am working. I cannot chat with you, all day, or I can't be interrupted. I'm going to be on a Zoom meeting. I'm closing the door. Do not knock and come in, that sort of thing. You have to do that in the best way you can, but you do have to have those if you're going to be working professionally. And then do take breaks. I think you've probably learned from your taking classes virtually. Everything's on a screen when you're doing, your work and your writing, or your email, or your coursework. And it can really just suck you in and drain you, so take breaks. Do make sure that you do that, even though you're working at home. And keep these things in mind. Of course, you've learned these, I think, with classes, but classes are different, when this might be more informal. And often, if you're in a virtual class, you don't have to have your screen on, as far as I know, your camera on. But when you're in meetings for work, you do generally, and you might even ask about that, but you want to mute your phone. You do want to use your webcam and your mic. Make sure you're muting yourself on, the microphone on, as you do now, or turn off your video just briefly if you have to excuse yourself briefly. Be aware of your background. I'm sure you see the one I've got is just that kind of blur. If you're at home, or, in a residence hall or something like that, they don't need to see everything that's behind you. So you can blur it, or you can choose another virtual background, preferably not. I love the beach one. That's great for something informal, not good for work necessarily. So choose that, and then pay close attention. Do not be multitasking, while you're in a Zoom meeting. Don't be doing email unless they've asked you to look for something or to respond to something. But in general, don't be multitasking, working on something else while you're in a meeting for your internship. And don't treat this as you do classes and homework assignments. It is different, even though it is still virtual. It is a job. It is an internship, and it's not as informal or as flexible as these other things have been for you. And do expect things may change, especially when you're with the pandemic, we don't know. We always have to even priorities or circumstances at the organization can change. So don't be shocked when this happens. And also don't try to do a virtual internship someplace where you don't have good Wi-Fi, or connection at least. You must have this if you're doing a virtual internship. You can't go sit in the library, when you need it necessarily. So make sure that you do have that if you're in a virtual internship. I would assume that you do. And then what ifs? There are always a couple of what ifs. What if you're not getting to do the work that you expected to do or that they told you that you would do? And what if you're not happy at the internship? Both of these things do happen occasionally, not that often, fortunately, but they do happen. So if it's the situation where you're not getting to do the work that you anticipated, don't wait too long to ask about this. You do want to wait at least a week, maybe into the second week. If you're still not seeing this, there are ways to ask about it, but you do want to ask. And you be careful of your timing, make sure that it's not when your supervisor's running to something else, don't catch them like that. But make sure it's good timing and just ask. This is an example that I have on the screen. In the job description or in my offer, it stated that I would be able to do this or that, whatever it is. And I was excited about that. I haven't had a chance to do it yet. When do you anticipate that I will be able to do whatever it is? And that's a really great way to ask, as opposed to, hey, you said I could do this and I'm not yet. That it's a very different perspective, a different feel to them as well when you ask for that. And then hopefully that will change things. They would be able to say, oh, I know, I'm sorry, this other priority came up and that's why we've got you working on this. You should be able to we'll be able to do that maybe in about a week or two, something like that. Or if it's, if they just say, oh, I don't know, if it's very vague, go on, see what happens. You don't hesitate then after a few weeks, after like 2 or 3 weeks, if you're not getting to do something that was your the major reason you took the internship, let me know, let your faculty sponsor know as you're writing in your journals about this. And depending on that, I could possibly reach out on your behalf to the supervisor. That's not preferred. It's always better that you do it, but and I would only do it after you've already had conversations, but I can kind of coach you through those if need be. But you don't want to spend the whole summer not getting to do the things they told you that you would be doing, and at least all of them, that's what we're talking about. Of course, we said you have to be flexible, things change. But if it's entirely different, that's what we're talking about. And then if you are just not happy with the internship, it's like this, I just don't enjoy this work like I expected that I would, or I don't really like these people, or whatever it is. It's 8 weeks. Don't concentrate on that, the disappointing, the downsides of it. Concentrate on learning all you can, because you can still learn a lot, even in a situation you don't care for very much, and try to rise above that situation and get the most out of it that you possibly can. So those are tips that I would say, what if those cases. And then what if you have problems with coworkers? Those generally are what cause problems. Coworkers, it could be even interns, could be employees of the company, could be interns. Unless it's a situation where you are really uncomfortable or feel threatened, consider it a challenge, to get along with them for the length of the internship. Just, ignore when you can, if they're just rude in their, the way, if they're abrupt or the way they communicate, just make the best of it, go ahead. You still bite your tongue. Do not, you don't want to burn bridges. You don't want to be saying things. If it's a real problem, depending on who it is, supervisor, whatever, I'm happy to talk with you about that. And your faculty sponsor would be too, to talk about the situation and what might be the best way to handle it. Don't take things personally. Sometimes you just got people who are very abrupt, or they're not like Berea people. Berea people in general, I think, are respectful and kind. Not all of them, but most of them are. And that may not be the case, at the organization. But don't take things personally. Do your work, do a good job, and don't let their negativity pull you down, affect your performance. You need to do a good job, and you want to be friendly and, in a good mood. Do not fall into that trap, and don't gossip about them. These are just things you're going to have to learn, and you already have, I'm sure. You've had roommates for years at Berea. So some of them good, some of them not, so this is, it's just how it is. Sometimes you just don't connect with someone, or worse, it seems like oil and water. It's not a good mix at all, but you might still have to work with them, and you don't let that show. You kind of fake it till you make it, but this is not, like I said, we're not talking about something that's very uncomfortable or threatening. We're not talking about that kind of thing. We're just talking about those little things that are like, okay, all right, I get it. And we're not going to be buddies, but you can still be very professional. What will they say about you when you leave? Think about that. What would you like your supervisors to say? Because they are going to do an evaluation of you. But in general, if they're talking about you in meetings when you're gone, these are the kinds of things you want them to be able to say about you. That you took it seriously. You took the work seriously and did a good job. They could trust you to do what you said you would do, in the time frame that you said, and that you had accomplished a lot for them. That sort of thing. These are the things you would love for them to be able to say about you. These are just a few reminders, as you're going, to make sure you have your health insurance card with you. Check your Berea email throughout the summer. We will be communicating with you through email. And then be sure, while you're at the internship, to get some good photos. Ask someone to take some nice high resolution photos, if you can, of you doing your work, or in a location that identifies, where you are, where your internship is. And send those to us at internships@berea and .edu, of course. And then in any media posts, we do love it if you post about your internship, something that's positive. Make sure you ask, like I said, just ask your supervisor, is it okay if I occasionally post something about my work or what I'm doing? We love that, and just tag us, please, and, beyond Berea, having a great day at Backside Learning Center, something like that, or great event today with Kentucky Refugee Ministries, or at the Forestry Center at Berea, or wherever it might be. Those kinds of posts are fine, but anything beyond that, you need to make sure you're very careful. These are some, look at all this fine print. Fine. You should be able to see your internship course on your summer schedule by the end of this spring term. If you don't, please contact us. Things can fall through the cracks. We don't usually, out of, a couple hundred to 200 to 300 people, there's usually one or two that, do fall through. We thought you were on this list, you weren't, something like that, Especially this year, we've had so many late offers that did not come in by the deadline that that makes it a little bit harder to get everything in as we should. Also, if you're receiving funding, you should have gotten that direct deposit about 2 weeks after our final meeting where we did the funding form. If it's been longer than 2 weeks, then check with us. If it's only been a week, don't check with us. It takes about 2. Okay. And I think most of you know that. We talked about it in our meetings. If you have other questions about your funding, please look at the copy of your funding form that you got. And when, we send it to you by DocuSign, you should have a copy of that, and then have it in hand when you reach out about your questions. Do not forget about a timesheet. You do need to keep your timesheet. If you're on campus, use the one that we provide for you. Don't clock in. If you're working with an employer that has you clock in, that's fine. You know, you might be in a paid internship and it's, you know, they're paying you an hourly wage or they want you to clock in and out. If there is something that produces a report that says how many hours you worked at the end of the experience, that's fine. You can use that instead of our timesheet. But regardless, we have to have documentation, and it does have to be at the end of the summer signed by, you know, it has to be official, signed by your supervisor or from their time clock system, something like that. And remember, 300 is the minimum hours, not, you know, not the maximum. You have to get at least 300. And there are a couple of exceptions to that. And you would know who you are. The Shepherd internships, the program actually changed the hours after everyone had already been accepted and were in process. So we let it go a little bit. But anyway, everybody will also see a charge of $110 on your student account. And that is because you are enrolled in a summer class. That would be true if you were enrolled in any other summer class. And an internship is a summer class. So you'll see that you are responsible for paying that. And then there are 3 things I need back from you by August 6th. And they are listed right there. What are they? Timesheet, signed by the supervisor. Students' evaluation, you'll do that. Supervisor's evaluation of you. Those are both links in an email, and they're done online. Do connect with us. It's, you know, tag Beyond Berea. Post your pictures and anything else with us. These phone numbers are really important. If you do not have them, write this one down right here. That's the one for urgent issues that don't take place, you know, during regular hours. During the week, you would call Nicole at 859-985-3656. That's on our website. That's the number for the internship office. Even if she happens to be working at home, and we will be for a little bit of the summer, but then we'll be back in the office. That it is, the office phone goes straight to her mobile work phone. And so you can reach her at any time, you know, during the day. Leave a message because she does get lots of phone calls and she might be on the phone, but she'll call you back. She's really great. And she can connect you with us if need be. And then if there's something urgent, you know, that happens in the evenings or the weekends and you need to reach someone, this is the number to call. Sorry. 859-302-0051. That is my work mobile phone. Again, leave a message if I don't pick up, and generally I will, but it, you know, sometimes I might not be able to, you know, it is the evening and the weekend, but I will watch that. And then also here's public safety's number. If there was a true emergency where it's like, I've got to leave now, you know, and I've left Esther a message on this number, you know, if you needed public safety for some reason, yeah, or someone else, they can get in touch with us as well. So these are this one first, this would be the second, this would be, you know, only in unusual emergency situations. The most important things I want you to take away from this presentation as you go to your internships, I want you to go with confidence because you are good at what you do. You are Berea College students. I have been so impressed with you the whole 10 years that I have worked at Berea. I have been impressed with Berea College students, and employers are too generally. And so know that and be confident about that when you go to your internship, even though you might be a little nervous, you know, be confident, be intentional about what you're learning and you're doing so that you will make the most of the experience, and be grateful for the opportunity and the funding, because no other schools do this generally, or if they do, it's a very small amount or for very few people. So these are really amazing things about Berea. And now we are finished. And every year at the internship launch party, as part of this session, we always ask Reverend Dr. Loretta Reynolds to do a blessing for the internship, for all the people going out on internships. So here is Reverend Loretta Reynolds.
As these students prepare for a summer of service, learning, and adventure, I ask that you give them courage for the road which lies ahead and give them wisdom to make the most of every opportunity. May the knowledge, wisdom, and experience acquired here accompany them on their journey. Give them faith to go out with courage, especially in times when they don't know exactly where they're going. Help them to be assured that your hand is leading them and your love is supporting them. O God of surprises, provide the hope and the confidence to know that with your help and by your grace, each person here can make a difference in this world. Sustain them with your love and provide them strength to face the exciting, challenging, uncertain, and maybe a little scary days ahead. From the Hebrew scriptures, hear this promise. Remember, I am with you and I will watch over you wherever you go. I will also bring you back to this land because I will not leave you until I do what I have promised. And so now, 2021 Berea College summer interns, here is a blessing for you. As you leave this place, may you go into the world in the strength of God. Let your life be given in service to others. May you do the right things as well as do things right. Be involved in spreading peace and love with all those to whom you encounter. Have courage. Take hold of what is good. Never pay back wrong for wrong. Let compassion be your companion and forgiveness your constant friend. Walk in the knowledge that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Rest in knowing that you are a child of God. Amen.